What's up, everybody? Let's discuss this absolute banger of a matchup that is on the books for UFC 299 in Miami. Gilbert Durinho Burns taking on JDM, Jack Della Maddalena, a.k.a. your boy over here. I'm just kidding. I know down in the comments people have been saying I look like JDM. I hope my nose isn't that damn crooked, because if it is, I need some help. But anyway, let's talk about this matchup, guys. I mean, this is, on paper, This is a sensational matchup. Now, I'm going to get into the X's and O's in just a moment here, and I want to discuss a couple things here. One, why I think the UFC made this matchup. Two, how I see this matchup playing out, and what this means for both guys in their career, okay? And let's start with, the UFC has made this matchup clearly because they think JDM is the next big thing in the welterweight division. I mean, I know welterweight division's kind of getting exciting again, right? I know it took a little bit of a downturn when Usman lost the belt, Jorge Masvidal retires, Nathan Diaz kind of steps away, right? I mean, the welterweight division has been looking for big names, has been looking for some future guys that fans can kind of get behind, per se, right? Some exciting style of fighters. We have that now. We have that with Leon Edwards. You know, despite how you may feel about him, he's very good. He's technical. He's the champ. We have Shavkat Rakhmonov coming off the win against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. We have Ian Gary. We have some different guys now, man. And JDM's getting thrown into that conversation. What I like about what the UFC has done with JDM is they have gradually increased the competition level quickly but steadily for JDM. They didn't throw him right to the wolves. They eased him in kind of to this matchup with Gilbert Burns. Coming off a fight against Kevin Holland, you know, I thought that Kevin Holland was going to be able to actually put JDM away. I was on the record saying that. And looking back, maybe that was a little crazy, but I also think Kevin Holland is a guy who, when he shows up, anything is bound to happen. We've seen Kevin Holland put people away with that piston right hand that he throws. I thought with the way JDM likes to fight, I thought that maybe Holland was going to be able to catch him, but JDM proved me wrong, man. This guy's boxing is sensational. We can't bring up JDM without talking about the outstanding boxing skills of this guy, right? I mean, I just see this matchup being a little bit of a nightmare for Gilbert Burns. I know Gilbert Burns, you know, he fought rather compromised against Bilal Muhammad, so I think that we can kind of dismiss that fight in a way, right? I think that it's a little hard to evaluate Gilbert Burns off of that matchup, but what we can do is recognize what Gilbert Burns has been through in his past few fights leading up to Bilal Muhammad. We saw the Jorge Masvidal matchup, which I know people are going to say how impressed they were with Gilbert Burns to beat Jorge Masvidal. I mean, we saw Masvidal towards the tail end of his career just get dominated by people with a grappling advantage, right? I mean, that's essentially what happened against Masvidal. Masvidal was landing some good leg kicks. At the end of the day, Gilbert Burns was just the better man that night. He was able to take him down. He landed some good shots on the feet. But again, how serious was Jorge Masvidal taking it? I think he kind of already had one foot out the door at that moment. That's just an assumption of mine, not to be disrespectful. That's just kind of my breakdown of that. However, I think Gilbert Burns absolutely has a legit shot of winning this fight. I mean, I know people are writing him off. They're pointing at that he's 37 years of age. He's kind of on the decline. The UFC's trying to feed him to a contender and get him out of there. That's not how I see this matchup. I see this matchup as a huge opportunity, not only for JDM, because he's going to beat a guy that's basically inside the top 5, one of the best guys in the division in Gilbert Durinho Burns, but you know, this can shoot JDM into maybe one more fight after Gilbert Burns, and then he's next in line for a title shot. I mean, we're talking JDM is close to fighting for the belt. I mean, it's kind of crazy because it seems like he's so far away, but at the same time, a win over Gilbert Durinho Burns puts him right in that conversation to be fighting for the belt next. Now, I think that this is also still a tough fight for JDM. I know a lot of people are like, he's just going to walk through Gilbert. You know, he's got the better striking, the better boxing. Yes, he does. However, Gilbert Burns has crazy power, man. He has crazy power. His hands have gotten better. However, in a fight, if you pull Gilbert Burns into the fight, man, he tends to lean on those tendencies that got him to where he is in terms of the striking, which is a looping overhand right and a crazy left hook. We know that Gilbert Burns is going to throw those. He loads up on them. He does kind of telegraph them in a way which I would like to think a younger 27-year-old JDM who's kind of hitting his stride, man, hitting the prime of his career, is just going to be better in the striking. I don't think that he's going to be worried too much about the striking of Gilbert Burns, right? I mean, I know Khamzat Chimaev presents some unique challenges in the grappling, and he's a big guy, but we saw Gilbert Burns get dropped by Khamzat Chimaev. And I know Khamzat Chimaev, is known for his grappling. He does have some pretty good hands. However, JDM is a far superior striker compared to Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, that's how JDM makes his living, man. That's what JDM is. He's a fantastic boxer. I do expect him to pick apart Gilbert Durinho Burns. I don't think that this fight hits the floor. I do think Gilbert Burns is going to try to mix in the grappling. However, I think JDM is going to be able to defend those takedowns. I really do. This fight just ultimately comes down to, Gilbert Durinho Burns is as tough as they come. Hence the nickname Durinho. I think that translates to tough in Portuguese, right? I mean, the guy's tough as nails. He's durable. He's a hell of a fighter. He seems like a great dude, right? I mean, I never like picking against Gilbert Burns. But in this matchup, I am. I'm rolling with JDM. I think JDM gets the job done. I think he's just able to pick apart Gilbert Burns, man. I think he's able to pick apart Burns with the boxing. I think Burns is going to try to level change and try to take him down and maybe look for a submission, which in my opinion is Gilbert Burns' key to victory, is if he's able to just take down JDM, get him down, submit him, kind of like what he did to Neil Magny, which I just don't see that happening to JDM. The guy's got good takedown defense. He's young. He's hungry. He likes to move forward. He likes to put you on the back foot to make those shots a little bit more predictable. I think he's going to overwhelm Gilbert in the striking, because we have seen that when you back Gilbert Burns up, he does like to kind of rely on sitting down and throwing that big overhand right, which I think JDM's going to be prepared for. I think JDM's going to work behind the jab. He's going to be a smooth criminal, switching the stances, slowly kind of moving forward, peppering Burns with some shots. I think this is a bad matchup for Gilbert Burns. I think it's a bad matchup for Gilbert Burns, but I absolutely think it's going to be a competitive fight. I think it's going to be a fun fight. I think JDM gets this thing done by unanimous decision. Maybe Gilbert Burns steals a round in there. He's able to get JDM down, kind of, score that round in terms of control time on the ground, look for some submissions. JDM gets out of them. But I think that JDM striking is going to be too much for Gilbert Burns. I think that JDM overall, this isn't a slight on Gilbert Burns. JDM is just that good. Although I do have some concerns, which is, when we see a healthy Gilbert Burns, which who knows how long Gilbert Burns has been unhealthy for. Has he had injuries prior to that matchup with Belal Muhammad? Because it was very clear watching that Belal Muhammad fight when we saw Burns in there. Anytime he threw something, it was like, this guy just doesn't seem right. I mean, when I was watching the fight, it just seemed like something was off, right? I mean, injuries, whatever. Great matchup. I don't want to see either guy lose. I think both guys seem like great dudes, but this is just one of those fights where I think that JDM, the youth, the boxing abilities of JDM is going to be too much for Gilbert Burns, but the power is on Gilbert Burns' side with those one-shot, overhands, that rights that he's able to throw, that hook. But at the end of the day, guys, I think JDM is just able to get the job done. What do you all think? I think this is a great matchup. I think whoever wins puts themselves in position to win one more fight inside the top 5 and then fight for the title. What do you all think? Like, subscribe, comment below. Appreciate you all. See you in the next one.